Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to SP Reviews, where today we're going to be checking out a track from an act named Leadboots from their Someplace Better EP, titled Aerials. And if we switch over to here, we have the track on Spotify. We're going to listen through this track from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go. Oh, fantastic tones. Oh, and the bass and the drums are coming in immediately. Okay. Gonna give me a 90s grunge rock old vibe. Yeah. Great vocal harmonies on top there, nice and present in the mix. Nice resolution there, a little bit of a difference in the tail of that end part there, a little bit of a drum fill there. Nice, great little bluesy build there. All that we need is before us. We scream over and over again. Interesting. Yeah, a great, friendly, little melodic motif going in here. Nice alternative voicing to the vocals. Great additional layering on top here. Lower lead part on the right. Great choice. Just a seamless transition back. And I also like how we've got the over and over again part in the center. We've got the we scream, you know, that kind of part in the sides there with a little bit of filtering and a little bit of distortion there, just to kind of imitate the tension and the angst from the screaming. A little bit of a break up and change in the groove there, moving away from the hi-hat focus. Oh no. Coming down here a little bit, the steel strings. No, smart move having the ride parts on the opposite side to the lead guitar or vice versa. I think that's a smart move when you have those little bits of freshness in there. Oh, we're adding another guitar layer on that side. And the bass just dances and tweets between it. Great vibrato there with the vocal performance, hey? It's I haven't really been focusing on the vocals as much, like I've been listening to the lyrics. Of course, you know, and I've definitely heard that, heard the part what's going on in the center field, but I like that this was played live. I'm liking that they were played these instruments. I don't know if those were recorded in the same room or not. The recordings are quite clean. Not in a bad way or a sterile way, you know? A little bit of filtering on that right side lead as well. I enjoy that. A little bit of adjustment there and change. I don't know whether that's automation or like a pedal or something like that. Great build here. Fantastic increased intensity. Yep, that crescendo, that climax, and bring it back down. We continue with those guitars. Drums obviously shift in their approach. Wow. Wow, I got chills from that ending. This sounds like something from a well-to-do independent label. They're thoroughly professional. A really fantastic first impression, and what a way to finish an EP, eh? Because this is the conclusion of my review of Aerials, which is a track from Leadboots off of their Someplace Better EP. What do I think the song is about? I think this track is about someone who is maybe been unaware of how they've just been cycling through life every day being the same. They've been kind of lulled into that sort of routine there, and they've been, you know, tolerating it, but now they're like, yo, actually I want something, I want an alternative to this. I want to have a better life. I want to, we've been screaming for it. And I think this is the time to really make a move. And I think that can be an allegory for a lot of things in life. I think a lot of people go through times where they want to have improvement, or it's gotten too stale, or for whatever reason it really needs to adjust. And I think a lot of people will be able to relate to the messages within this. I'm assuming there's more nuance in there that I mean, you can get, there's repeat. You can listen to this repeatedly. I think there's replay value within this to catch all the different nuances, but great first impression. I think I got the hang of it for the most part on that first listen. That's testament not only to the telling of the story, but also the vocal performance there, which was fantastic. You know, the voice really suits the type of music we're making. This kind of old acoustic rock stuff. It's great. There's a massive audience for it nowadays, but like, I think a positive reception for, I think a lot of people listening to this who are into that kind of stuff will enjoy this. But yeah, the vocal performance was great. Hit each of the notes clearly. Nice little bits of vibrato there, ornamentation, like very comfortable within a head voice, a little bit of chest voice. Sorry, comfortable within their chest voice, a little bit of head voice occasionally, but they stayed within that octave. I think maybe that's just a placement thing within the frequency spectrum to not interfere with the other instruments too much. That's also testament to like the actual production values, like the filtering and EQ work and stuff like that used. But yeah, no, really great choice. And I think that things got a little bit more intense to win on. Like the screaming part made sense with the distortion on that effects chain, but really, you know, like the vocal was built up in intensity, especially over that last little interlude bit. And we kind of, especially when the drums kicked in and all that, it became huge. And then we sort of concluded and we came back down. We had great emotional intelligence on display here within this track from the vocalist. Told the story really authentically. I'm very happy with it. I mean, the structure of the track itself, it had variation with the bass lines and chord progressions and stuff like that. It's lots of cute little articulations, especially with those lead guitars and stuff like that in that end part. But also just the elegance and how present everything was within the mix. It's more of a production thing, isn't it? I think it's just, you had this kind of two-note bass line along with the chord progressions, and while that can potentially become dull very quickly, I think we managed to avoid it because of the additional elements on top within the structure and arrangement. But the actual motif there with those open chords and little bits, there were little bits of extensions as well, like some sevenths and maybe some neutral kind of some sus2 chords in there, a little bit of sympathy and brightness in there, and amongst the more emotional tones. It's again, that's why I think I said it was mature. It sounded like they'd explored different harmonies and really thought about what was appropriate for the story and the vocal performance, because you need everything to harmonize well. You don't want to have any grossness in there. I think overall the main motif of the song sort of signaled that they wanted a change and that they're optimistic for the future. They've just got to reach towards it, you know. It was kind of that anthem thing, which I reckon a lot of their audience might be able to get behind and be like, yeah, no, we want to change too, you know, by bonding and kinship and all that good stuff. But yep, no, again, the arrangement of the track was splendid. We had lots of cool stuff happening in the actual stereo field, different instruments, different layers and stuff like that. And the refined sort of quality actual recording itself made it nice and pretty to listen to. And it wasn't a lot of low-end resonance and kind of like It wasn't an ominous sounding track or anything like that. It was charismatic, youthful, and vibrant, and there wasn't a note out of place in the actual performance perspective. The guitars, bass, drums were all nicely in tune. There's a great chemistry between the band members involved, and they harmonize well with the vocalist. A clear understanding of how to play together. I can imagine the live shows would be pretty phenomenal. And yeah, all in all, you know, I think that there was nothing about this that signaled that it was an ego project either. There were no instruments that really kind of tried to stand out from one another. It was a journey more than anything, and they absolutely smashed it. Great work. Great work as a band. I cannot say that enough. It's really pleasant just to hear musicians jamming together, recording together, respecting each other like that. You know, there's a time and place for solo sections, don't get me wrong, but like it's little things how we came down at that halfway point. Things were a little bit intense when you had to balance it out before we did another sort of like slow build. And it's just like, you got to get the movie so tight to nail that stuff. You can't have someone come in even like a quarter of a second late with that. You've got to really know the track and know when to pay attention to how quietly, how loudly to hit stuff. And little bits of articulation with like those drum fills and stuff. Those cute little cascading melodies on either side of the guitar parts alongside the thoroughly supportive and foundational bass guitar and the rhythm parts. Yeah, really pleased with it. And finally, the production, recording, mixing, and mastering was splendid. Great recording quality over all the different instruments. You know, they really knew what they were doing on that side of things. The EQing, filtering, effects work as well were great. You know, it wasn't overly saturated in effects. Like the vocals sounded pretty raw aside from a bit of reverb and stuff like that. Also the distortion on the sides for those like wide pan parts and the hook. You know, the guitar, bass, and drums, they sounded, you know, punchy and colorful and warm and fuzzy and friendly, and it made sense for this track, I think, to have that. All in all, man, it was nice and loud without pumping. There was a little bit of side chaining maybe that were coming in from the kick to those bass, but like everything was filtered well enough that you probably didn't even need to do that, but we can do it because it just sounds a little bit more kind of quote-unquote professional. To have that bit of punch in there without too much, of course. It's finding that nice balance, and I wouldn't have thought any less if it hadn't had that. As I mentioned before, lots of activity in stereo field, you know, like a little bit of filtering on the vocals occasionally, like a little bit of a difference in the way that they were kind of rotating, oscillating in the mix. You know, nice and loud without pumping. I don't know if I mentioned that before. Like, all in all, man, like I haven't got a lot of complaints about this track. I listened to Leadboots with Aerials off of the Someplace Better, you know, EP. It's effectively my review of this track. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Great. I'm looking forward to what they do in future. If you enjoyed this track, please do go show them some love via their various social medias and their Spotify page. And stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.